Welcome back to the Investor Source podcast, your number one source for business, investing, and wealth building. So this is episode 2, and we have the lovely Miss Jenny Gennaro of J.Bella Interiors here. How are you doing, Jenny?
Doing really good.
Yeah.
From the inches of snow we have outside, other than that, I'm good.
We live in Cleveland, man. It is what it is.
I know, it's not where I choose to live, but it is what it is.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So, I'm glad that you made it here. I know that you kind of had to slide in literally, but I'm glad that you did make it in.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Jenny, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know that I know that you own an interior design business, but you do a couple different things. So tell me a little bit about what you get into.
Yeah. So first, I have my real estate license for EXP. So I'm an agent. I've had my license for about 4.5 years.
Okay.
And with that, I think came the interior design business, which I started officially, oh my gosh, like 8 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it kind of happened organically, and I was honestly like a lot of like push and support from the Investor Source crew and just some other people in my life that encouraged me to do it. Never thought that was going to happen. It was always like something in my head, like I could see myself doing it. Like I've always done a lot with interior design, did a couple of live-in flips with my ex-husband, and it just really I've always gravitated towards that. And so, I mean, it's been in me, but I never thought I'd start a business doing it until opportunity kind of came, and then I just capitalized on it and did it. So, and really it started with the staging business. So, did a flip, staged it, right? Did all the design on it, picked out all like the finishes, flooring, paint colors, cabinets, did all of that. And then it went well, very well. It sold quickly and for over asking, and it was just a beautiful home.
Okay.
And I staged it, and I enjoyed doing it. It was a fun process, but on top of that, everybody was like, "Oh my God!" Right? And so I think in that moment is where people started seeing like, "Wow, you are good at this. You can do it." Right?
Yeah.
And then I think in that moment, it also gave me a little bit of like confidence in myself to be like, "Okay, wait, like I can do this," and I did enjoy it. And so honestly, it was in that moment that J.Bella kind of came to life.
I got you.
Yeah.
No, one of the favorite people that I like to listen to, Gary Vaynerchuk. Mm-hmm. One of the first things that I heard him say that really made me start to follow him was that you shouldn't necessarily worry about developing your weaknesses. You should instead triple down on where your strengths are. And I think that's ultimately what you decided to do when you discovered, oh, I have an eye for this. People seem to really respond well when I stage their homes or when I help them with their designs. And so leaning into that has allowed you to find success not just as a realtor, but as a businesswoman outside of it.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's super true. And it was just, I think, timing, for me too. And it came down to, again, like I've always enjoyed it. I've always loved redecorating. It came into my life because of winter depression.
Really? Okay.
So I don't think I've ever shared this before, but I had just had my daughter. So I had like postpartum depression, winter depression was kicking in. And me and my ex-husband owned a home, and, and I just was at home and hating the outside, didn't want to go outside. I don't like the cold. I don't like the winter. I'm meant to be in the sun and heat. And I found myself rearranging furniture and like redecorating everything and moving like pillows from one room to another room and changing the curtains and the rugs and minimal stuff. So it wasn't like super expensive, right? But it was just completely changed the entire space.
Yeah.
And so I found myself like consistently doing this over like the course of the winter.
Yeah.
And it made me happy. It was like that moment of where I'm like, okay, I'm not outside, I'm inside. I'm reinventing my space. It feels new, like when you're like sitting at your walls and you're staring at it and it's just the same thing over and over again. You're like, oh my God, like this is what I have to look at every day. and then just a couple things that you can do, and like that's a big tip for people too, is you can literally change your pillows, your curtains, and your rug and completely reinvent your entire space off of something so simple. And we don't always think about it, and it's cheap, it's not like a huge cost, but it changes your entire room. So I found myself just doing that over the course of the winter, and it like kept me going.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you said that too, because I think a lot of people are probably under the impression that if you want to give your home a new look or a new design, you have to embark on some crazy renovation, or you have to buy all sorts of new furniture and fixtures and things like that. But I've seen what you're speaking about, where it is just as simple as we adjusted some pillows, we did this, we did that. I was not someone who truly understood the aesthetic side.
Yeah.
Of especially you said you tend to work with residential people when it comes to real estate, correct?
Well, I mean, I have investors that I work with.
Right.
So I work closely with Isaac lately on, right, I stage for Isaac, and then also Isaac started bringing me in on the design side for him.
Okay.
So, and then I have another investor that I work with, Garrett, and we do the same thing. So we bring me in as early as you can, like that's what we've talked about, so I can completely help you from the ground up. Like I've been brought in too late on projects, and then we're repainting what's already been painted and just readjusting things. So I like working with investors in the sense of where I get to come in on the design side.
Okay.
Right? So a little bit different from Wayne.
Yeah.
Wayne only wants to work with investors. I like working with investors where they're giving me the freedom to help them flip the home and make it the best, right?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be expensive, like paint, flooring, handles, lighting. It goes a long way. We don't need to knock out walls or do things like that. But so that's what I'm doing with Isaac right now. We picked up the flooring, wall color, we do the stairs, like just it's little things. I'm excited for this transformation. So flipper investors on that side, yes.
Okay.
I'm good with it, right? Because then I can design for you, I stage for you, and then I list for you.
Okay.
Right? Like that's my value add as an agent, because there's so many agents out there being agents, but I knew when I got in this business I was going to have to separate myself from everybody else.
Right.
Like I didn't have a head on because I wasn't in the business for a very long time, and I just needed to make sure that I was able to provide something different. So there's not a lot of agents that can do what I'm doing.
Right.
And that was super important for me. But the issue with some of the investors, and I don't want to call it an issue, it's just I'm a very emotional person.
Okay.
And most investors are not,
Right.
in their project and in their work. And so it's, here's a house, let's flip it, we're done, slap some paint on it. And I'm like, well, wait, like...
You're like, can we put the paint on it, not slap it?
Right. Yeah. Essentially, and we pick the right paint color and not make it gray, which everybody all hear me always talk about.
Yeah, you hate gray.
Yeah. I hate it. I'm just very trendy. I like to keep up with the trends. I think it's super important to be ahead of that. And a trendsetter is someone who's already predicting what it's going to look like, and then you're literally telling the consumer what they like before they like it.
Okay.
Right? And so my big thing with gray is that we played it out. We did it so much, and it worked for years. Investors had the same flooring, the same wall color. They gave their contractors what it was. They went in, they slapped it on the walls, and they were done.
Because all the houses do literally look the same at this point. They look exactly the same, right?
For them, it made sense. It was like, all right, let's do it and get it done, and it'll be quick and easy.
Yeah.
And it was cheap, but we it's dead.
Right.
Like for me, it's like, okay, like we've done it, and now people are starting to become a little bit pickier. And not only that, again, you just want to be ahead of it, right? And so for me, it's important to, one, for anybody that I'm helping sell their home, is multiple offers. And this can we sell it as quickly as possible, right? Time is money, so it's super important on both ends for that to happen. And my goal is to make sure that it does happen. And to do that, you want people to be able to love it,
right?
And you don't want it to look like everybody else's house.
Exactly.
That's just not what people want. People want different. They want something to stand out, And so that's why I'm a little anti the gray color and everything being the same. And so. I don't know. So the whole investor thing is, they're great. I like working with them. They give me a lot of work,
right.
and they throw listings at me. But I loved working with homeowners and
people who are really going to set their roots here.
Well, it's their home, right?
Yeah.
Like, so for my sellers, this is their home. It's an emotional attachment, and like I feel that for them. I understand that, and like I want to help them through the process of like getting them through selling their home, because it can be an emotional attachment for a lot of people, especially if you've lived there for a long time.
Very much so.
Yeah,
Very
and then it
much
can be super exciting on the other end. And so for me, like that's what I live for. I live for building a connection with my clients.
Yeah.
And like communicating with them and understanding what their needs are, and then being able to help them with that, because at the end of the transaction, like how good I feel and they feel, and now they're not just like a client, like they've become a friend, and so that to me it'll be working with sorry to my investors, it'll be working with any of my investors.
Gotcha.
Like that's what I live for. That's why I do it.
I got you. Now talk to the other real estate agents out there real quick. Why is staging so important? Why does it matter? Why do I care?
Yeah. So it just depends on, I think, who you're talking to, and I think it depends on what kind of, like, not all listings need staged. I will be the first person to admit that.
Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna go in and not really do anything to it, and it's an ugly house, like you don't
have to apologize for stating facts. We state facts on the Investor Source podcast, and some houses are ugly.
Mm-hmm. Some houses are ugly, and if you're an investor and you're just flipping it and it's ugly, then you don't need to stage it.
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of investors think that way. There is zero emotional attachment. I stage homes because I'm trying to get the buyer to be emotionally attached to the home.
Okay.
Right? So I'll always say this, and I live by it. And if you're trying to sell your own home, you're a real estate agent, you're trying to sell clients' home, you should put a mirror by the entry or exit of a home. My number one, like will die saying this, because the goal is to have the person who's walking through the home that you want to buy it have an emotional connection to the home. They need to see themselves.
Visually see themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting thought.
See themselves in it. So, and then they get to like literally see themselves and then the reflection of the home behind them.
Yeah.
So that's super important. Placement is. But also another tip that I give is make sure that you're putting the lockbox on the front door, not the back door.
Okay.
Again, like perception and our first like reaction to something, it just changed our mindset.
It feels like home when you're going through the front door.
Yes, and not only that, but like usually I won't stage a home unless you're staging the living room. Most often, again, depending on the investor, I don't always do it. Just the house doesn't need it.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to living room, kitchen, and bathroom.
Okay.
Top 3 rooms that you should stage almost every single time. And the living room should be the most welcoming, right? So first impression, we should always think that. So when you're walking in the front door of the home, that's your first impression. So lockbox should be in the front door. They walk in the home, and that's their wow. That's the moment that you're going to get them to be like, oh my God, this is great, right? And that's it. And then they say that wow. They walk in, they see it. They're like, wow, and then they turn, and then there's a mirror, and then they get to see them in it. It's literally like, I don't know, I'm going to say it, it's a science. For me, I think it's a science.
No, it's 100% a science. It sounds like you're tapping into a little bit of psychology, you're tapping into perception, you're tracking, there's a lot of different areas that you're hitting that I'd never really thought about. But yeah, that would be huge if I went to a house that I was thinking of, I want to live in this house, and I had to go to the back door and the house didn't.
And you walk in first and see the basement stairs.
It's just kind of like I don't see myself living here. And I think to myself, because I just recently moved into a home, and the reason why we chose that home now makes a lot of sense. Well, we did walk in, there was a mirror there. I could visually see myself living in this home. And then we went through the front door, was at the front. So I felt myself putting the key into my front door.
Yes.
So that's huge. And that's a good way to definitely get somebody emotionally attached to something that really doesn't need emotional attachment. I'm like your investors. To me, it's just stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's just stuff. It's just a building. It's just 4 walls. But with you having that eye to be able to tap into the psychology of why would a new mom buy this house?
Yeah.
Why would a dad with 2 kids buy this house? is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, you must have had some sort of creative background or something like that. What even got you into this?
I don't know.
What
I really like, I don't know. I think, again, like I can go back to like that winter, when I was like depressed and started to, but I've always had that.
Yeah.
Like I've always had this like need for having everything to be.
Because what were you doing before you were a real estate agent?
Working for the government.
The government. She was working for the government. What were you doing for the government?
So I worked for a nonprofit organization. I really focused a lot on, I did a lot of public speaking, but I led a recruiting team for the county, Cuyahoga County, and my job was to help companies throughout Cuyahoga County find employees, staff, if they were understaffed, or like if they had maybe employees who needed skills, like, there was funding available for that. I started out, whenever a company was going through a layoff or a closure, I would go in and I would tell these people that they were about to lose their jobs. So, yeah, they called me the angel of death. Because while I was delivering this like not great information, I was also telling them, listen, like it's not the end. Most of these people were working in manufacturing companies. They've been doing it for a long time. They were probably tapped out. A ton of them didn't have college educations. And so when you get laid off in the state of Ohio, I don't know if it's still the same, and you lose your job at no fault of your own, government assistance comes in, and then they give you money to go and get a certificate or certification and up your skills. And so I was at least being able to provide them with like a happy moment, like, hey, you might hate your job, you're losing it, but there's government assistance to help you.
I got
you.
So
nothing related to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
The staging, the design was a hobby of mine. It was just something that I really
that blossomed.
That just, yeah, I mean, and it was, I bought my first condo when I was 22, and then, like enjoyed putting that together and, doing rehabs on that and stuff. And then, me and my ex-husband bought a house and we like rehabbed that and like, had a lot of fun there. And that is really where I think it blossomed, is that, because he was handy.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, knock that wall out. And he'd be like, okay. And he would go knock a wall out for me, and I'd be like, build me a closet. And he'd go and he'd build me a closet. And so I think it came like that, being able to see it like stud down and then rebuild it from there. I mean, I can do all of that. I can go into a house and tell you what walls need to come down and how to open it up and, what kitchen cabinets to put up. Like I just see it. I can completely visualize. I can go in a home with wallpaper and shag carpet and I can literally envision it completed.
Okay.
Yeah. And they say that, I don't know if it's like 70%, last I read, don't quote me, like 70% of the population aren't visualized. Like they can't visually walk into a space and tell you exactly what they want it to look like. Mm-hmm. And I've worked with a lot of clients where we'll walk through a home and there's wallpaper and woodwork and it's completely outdated and they want to walk right back out.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, this isn't. And I'm like, well, hold on. There's so much potential to this house.
This is what you could do.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Like don't think of that. Imagine this white. Imagine, your cabinet's this color. Imagine, the wallpaper gone and the walls being this color. Like don't, you just have to learn to look past it. But a lot of people, they just can't look past it.
No, and it's really interesting that you say that. My mother recently acquired a property because our grandfather passed away. So she inherited this property and she was in the mind frame of maybe potentially selling it or something like that. And when Wayne came by to take a look at it and potentially help her out, he was explaining to her how we might need to move some of her stuff out and restage it simply because people are going to see her stuff and completely discount the rest of the house. They're going to be like, oh, well, I wouldn't have had that there. I wouldn't have done this or I wouldn't have done that. So that really does matter. And I'm sure there's a lot of real estate agents out there right now who have properties that straight up no one cares about. They aren't selling. They aren't getting any attention or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And in my brain, from what I'm hearing is that staging or just taking a little bit of time to make this property look more aesthetically pleasing could be the difference between whether this house finally sells above asking, whatever, or just continues to sit on the market because it looks like every other generic ass house out there.
So yes, and that's huge. So two things with that. One, most often I would never list a house empty.
Okay.
I will never list a house empty.
Okay.
Never. I will at least stage the kitchen and the bathroom, at least. And people don't even realize the big difference that it makes. I mean, Nick knows because he comes in and he pictures my listings, you know. And I have to take more before and afters because there is, you know, I'll get there and there's nothing, and then it's like I get to see it completely, you know, just transform. But I would suggest to any realtor, unless you're an investor agent, and it doesn't matter, right? You're wholesaling, it doesn't matter. Like the house isn't rehabbed, you should never list a home without the kitchen and the bathroom being staged, because most often you're walking through the house and the kitchen is going to be one of the first rooms that you're seeing.
Right.
You know?
100%.
And it's a towel on the counter and, you know, and just some decoration, some greenery that will make a very small moment of your vision be like, oh, this is kind of homey.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. Like it's just a couple things from Home Goods, you know, that will make part of the home feel a little bit staged. So that's my advice. And I think this year my goal is to create like a package for someone that like gives you like, here, like you can go buy these things. It's $100.
Yeah.
And you as an agent can go stage part of your listings, you know, or you can hire me and I'll do it for you.
Right.
So I do also, I'll go through, it's called pre-listing, right? Staging. It's an agent can call me and I'll go to their client's house and I'll walk through the home and then I'll dissect each room and then I send them a write-up. And I tell them exactly what they need to do. You need to clear all of this off. You need to remove this. You need to add blankets. You need to add pillows. You need to add a mirror to the front door. You need to add, and so I do that for agents as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually starting. I'm getting more calls about that. I haven't really been pushing that I do that, but
you need to.
I know. I do need to. So, and it's big and it's helpful. I just did it for Christian. Christian's an agent. He helps run Icon. He just had me do it.
I didn't know Christian was an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, for Russell. And so Christian had me go to his client's house. I did it. I walked through, gave them the report, and it's literally a write-up of each room. I tell them everything, very detailed, where they can get the items. And then I give them the top 3. If you're going to do anything, you need to do these 3 things, right? And most of the things that I'm telling them to do, it's affordable. It's not going to cost them a lot of money.
Right.
But most of the things that they can do, they'll take it to their new home. You know, like, and it'll bring a lot of life to a new home. And so they did almost all of the things on the list. And Christian got that house under contract in a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So it helps. I promise it helps.
It makes a big difference. It seems like it makes a very big difference. But I think that, would you say that people are cheap, Jenny?
Yes.
Okay. Say people are cheap.
People are cheap.
Okay. That wasn't me asking. That was me telling her.
Yeah.
But
yeah, people are cheap.
Yeah.
Again, like about that, like you're taking all this stuff to your house. Like it's greenery and maybe, you know, and like sometimes it's like put coffee mugs here. Like the biggest suggestion I could give to anybody, this is homeowners that are trying to sell their home and realtors, clear everything out. The hard part is a realtor is a realtor.
Yeah.
Right? And so for agents to go into their client's home and tell them now that they need to clear everything out and redo this and redo that, most of them don't have the eye to be able to tell someone that.
Right.
And 2, you don't want to offend someone. They're not my client. I can offend them. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't mind offending them because that's my job as a designer.
To let you know.
Tell them you want the most for your money. You want to get the most out of this property. You need to do these things. Because you're going to have someone walk through your home and you're going to have clutter everywhere and things all over the place and, you know, and knicknacks.
Yeah.
And
everybody's knickknacks aren't going to hit the same way, that's for sure.
You would just be surprised on how someone would be completely deterred by someone's decor.
Mm-hmm.
Completely deterred. They can't see past it. They can't see past a red rug and, you know, and red towels in the bathroom. White everything. I suggest white everything. And so and I know that side because I walk clients through houses. I'm an agent. right? So I have buyers. I walk my buyers through houses, and it's amazing the things that they pick out. And a lot of times it's the decor.
Yeah.
Things that will go with the seller, like you don't have to worry about what color towels they're using. Don't worry about that.
Right.
But they can't see past it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it's, I think, really big. And again, for me, for agents to help them on that side, like, don't be the bad guy. You don't want to be the bad guy. You want me to be the bad guy.
Right. Because if they hear it from you, then this is me bringing in an expert designer, somebody who's managed to get these houses sold and everything like that, and she's telling you, and then you can play good cop on the other side and like, whoa, I know that was a lot, but
right. But you should do it.
But you should do it. No, and that's huge. We had to have that conversation with my mother because sometimes there's that cheapness, there's that not really wanting to put the additional money. Oh, well, I'm already doing this or that, and the house is worth this. It should just sell for that. And it's like, well, you would think that, right? There's a lot of people out there right now. They have these homes that are worth $1 million, $500,000, this or that, but it's not actually worth that unless somebody buys it.
Unless somebody is willing to.
Unless somebody's willing to pay for it, right. Exactly.
And even it still has to appraise.
Exactly. So if nobody's willing to buy your stuff and you're not willing to put the extra either money, time, or effort into getting it ready for clients, getting it ready for prospects.
Getting it ready is so important. And I work with sellers, and it's stressful. Like I just sold my house last year, and it was stressful trying to pack all of that up.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say this: you're moving anyway. Like you're gonna sell this house, we're gonna sell it. So
you might as well start moving things.
Yeah, like start doing it now, and it'll just be less stressful, within that 30 days usually that you have to move. But so something that I do is I'll go out for the agent and I will give the report and say like, hey, these are the things that you need to do. And then depending on, some clients don't want to do, they have to clear it out. I'm not cleaning their house for them. I'm not a cleaner, but
you're not?
No, I like cleaning. It's just, that wasn't fun. I can only be so good at so many things.
I understand.
Designing and staging is it. And being an agent, I love that part. But I'll go in and I'll do it.
Okay.
So I call it fluffing.
Okay. Where
I go in. I know, we've been down this road.
You couldn't find a better name, eh?
I feel like the name is great, actually. But I call it fluffing, and so
it makes sense.
The house is, you have your furniture in it, it's done, but I will come in and I will fluff it to, help. I'll add the things that I've told you to do. I'll add the mirror, I'll add maybe a rug here or there, I'll add things on the counters, I'll add pillows, I'll add art, like things like that. Okay. And so I will bring my staging stuff and I will do it for you.
Okay. What's the most interesting design that you've done so far? Like what's a design that you think to yourself, wow, I really enjoyed setting this up for them, or I really enjoyed putting this particular room together for them?
So early on, I did a 5-bedroom Airbnb. So I've done Airbnbs. I'm actually getting ready to stage Tito, the old Indians coach.
Okay.
Where he was living, he had an apartment on East 4th.
Yeah.
And the owners of the building are they're making it into an Airbnb. So me and Michael Clifford.
Yeah.
Travelux.
Yeah, Travelux.
So he brought me in, and we are going to be designing and doing that. So all the furniture's ordered. It'll be getting delivered, and then we'll put it together and do that. So that's going to be a fun one, and I think that'll top the one that I'm about to do,
okay.
that I did do. But I did a 5-bedroom Airbnb, and I think that one, and it was the first Airbnb that I'd ever did.
Okay.
And I loved it.
Now, do you stage and do you have a different process for Airbnbs versus like residential? Tell me a little bit about that.
I'd rather do residential. Airbnbs are a lot of work.
Okay.
So I'd rather stage a house all day, every day.
Now, what kind of work goes into an Airbnb property?
Build all the furniture.
Oh, wow.
Or
okay.
Hire someone to build all the furniture.
Right.
But it's time.
Just some extra legwork.
So for me, it's just a lot of time that goes into it. And for staging, I already have all my furniture, so I can stage about 7 houses right now. We have
With
7
just what
houses
you have right
staged
now.
once. Right now,
Wow.
I all my inventory is out.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Good
So
stuff.
the staging business is super busy. It's super popular, and I can. The goal is for me, for anybody who's trying to get into the business, would be to take it from one house and move it to the next. Right? Like I never want my inventory back ever.
Okay.
I always want my inventory to move.
Moving from one house to the next house to the next.
Money.
Yeah, I mean, if it's sitting in your storage unit, what is it? It's not making you anything.
That means there's something wrong with my business, right? Like, so, I mean, at least that's how I take it.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, no, so the goal is to always go from one listing and then take that furniture and take it to the next listing. Now, I'll always take stuff with me to mix it up so not, they all don't look the same. But that's usually the best way for me to go. And I've been in and out of a house, depending on how much I'm staging. I can be in and out in an hour. Staging a living room, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom. I mean, I just, it wasn't like that when I started, but now I can do it pretty quickly.
I gotcha.
So I love the staging part is my favorite out of everything. Nice. Airbnbs, it's a lot of time.
Okay.
So like now I'm ordering all the furniture and I've got to find king beds and chairs and a dining room table and stools and I've got to find a couch and chairs and rugs and lamps and imagine all of the work that goes into me designing it.
Yeah.
Because it all has to go together. I can't just, pick a couch on Wayfair and be like, that's it, there's the table. Like, it takes me some time to, like, envision the design.
Yeah.
And then envision it in the home it's going to go into. And so it's just, if I'm doing time versus money.
Yeah.
I'd rather stage a house all day and make, $1,500 in an hour.
Yeah.
Than, $4,000 for an Airbnb.
But it takes forever to do.
It's taking me a month.
Got it.
Now obviously like there's hours set to it, but and I know my furniture, so I rather go in and just do what I do with my stuff.
See, and me and you, we run into a similar sort of mindset, I'm sure, where people somewhat minimize what we do. Right? They're like, all you're doing is going on Wayfair and choosing a couch. All you're doing is, telling people that you have an event. Like, what's marketing? What's staging? Who cares? Why is this so important? But the more that you go into it, the more that I can understand why some of these properties sit on the market forever and why some people, their properties go on the market and they're sold within weeks, sometimes days of it going up, just because they took the extra time to stage, to make it aesthetically pleasing, to make it appealing to people. So taking that time to create an appealing environment is huge. It's going to make you a lot in the long run.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's part of it. Is like Isaac's a really big advocate for staging. He's always been just amazing to work with. Like he's one of the ones that gave me like the first. He was like, "Well, come stage this for me," and I did it, and I've done quite a few homes for him. But Isaac was the money thing. He goes, days on the market matters, and that's where and then it's money. You know, and it's harder for people, again, to walk through a home empty and be like, and then not only that, but now they're able to pick out more that's wrong. A staged home, you're drawing their eye to the furniture. To
the staging.
And then not only that, but you're giving them the view of what it could look like. Oh, wow, like this is what it could look like. And you're letting them visualize like what it would be like as a home. And it feels like home. Have you ever walked into an empty house and
it's just a house. It's just house.
And then you walked into it with furniture in it, and you're like, oh, wow, this is cozy. Like, there's a big separation between it. So I don't suggest that people list homes empty. Again, there are situations where I'm doing it too, so I'm not going to say, like, it's never not done. There are some times where it's just not worth me staging. Yeah. I don't offend anybody, but it's just the truth. Sometimes it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But if you have a new build, if you have, like, a rehabbed home that's pretty or halfway decent, yeah, absolutely. You should be doing something to it.
Okay. I like it. Now, what advice would you give to somebody because your background is so interesting to me. You go from a job where there's almost zero creativity to a job that, has you tapping into your artistic side, tapping into your creative side, tapping into your eye and your visualization side. What would you say to somebody who wants to make a transition from just the sort of 9 to 5, I'm working to earn my money sort of thing, to someone that wants to focus on being more of a creative and developing with their own innate talents?
Yeah, so that's a big question. So I want to just put this out there. I have zero artistic ability. Like, I can't draw a stick figure to save my life. That's just not. I think it's maybe the creative side is
Well,
more,
art is
more
subjective.
than just me drawing it.
Yeah, I would
drawing on a paper.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a big transition for me. Quitting my job, which was a great job. I mean, I had like all the benefits in the world. I had 6 days off. I had 401k. They were putting an unbelievable amount in. I was in a really good spot, but it was comfortable.
Got it.
You know, and I'd just gone through a divorce. And for me, it was scary, which also made me realize it was probably the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, I was sick of making the same amount every 2 weeks in my paycheck.
Got it.
I was like, there has to be more.
Yeah.
Right? Not just in a monetary
just as a whole,
but in life. Like, I'm like, there has to be more than me waking up and going to this job and then coming back and being done. Right? So I kind of knew that pre-divorce, and that's why I got my license, my real estate license. But I think after the divorce, like, life changes. You realize that what you think is what is really, what you think your life is really going to be like, it's not, and so I think I was all in at that moment, and I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, I wanted to give my kids a better life. I wanted a better life. I was done trying to figure out how to pay my bills every month by myself on one income when I went from 2. And I was ready to just make more money. And I saw an opportunity, and I took it.
I like it.
And I think that was the biggest part for me is an opportunity came along. I was able to flip my first house, see it, do it, staging part. And then I could have just said, like, no, I'm not doing anything with this. I could have 100%, but I didn't. I
expanded your thinking.
I just saw something so much bigger for my life and for my kids' lives. And I was not willing to pass that up. So.
And I respect the hell out of that.
Best decision I ever made was starting this business 100%. And Investor Source. I mean, putting myself in a room with people who dream bigger and see bigger and are doing bigger. I would not be here if it weren't for them.
One of my mentors, when I was working in insurance a few years back, that was my first foray into business, was insurance. And he used to tell me that comfort is the enemy of achievement. And to hear when you decided, you know what, this is stable, but it's comfortable. And that's the scary part, where you're like, I don't know if I want to jump because I'm not sure what's going to be on the other side. But at the same time, I'll never know if there's anything better unless I do.
100%. There was a moment where I was calling everybody who'd ever been like a mentor to me. And Al Stace, like, I remember calling him, and I'm like,
Al's cool.
But he's the reason I got licensed, And so I called him, and I'm like, do I do this? Do I not do this? What do I do? And he was like, I can't tell you what to do. I can't make that decision for you. He goes, but there is a reason that I give the burn the boat story.
Yes.
And so I'm like, all right, fair enough. And I think the scariest part was I was a single mom. Like, what was I going to, do? And I just relied on knowing who I was. And like, somebody else said this to me the other day. And like, when your back is against a wall, you have no choice. You're going to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that that's 100% how it was. But again, like, opportunity, putting yourself in the right rooms with the right people. If those things weren't happening, I would not be where I am today. And I can honestly say that I'm happier than I've ever been. I mean, doing what I love to do. It's stressful. Don't get me wrong. There are still days where I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I'm overwhelmed with stress because I have so much work.
Yeah.
Like, there are agents out there that are struggling right now because
they're stressed because they're not eating. They don't have anything going on.
You're like,
I'm stressed because I have too much business.
So much business. And from so many different ways. I've got real estate business. I got design business. I got staging business. I leave for Louisiana on Sunday to go do the Cabin Wars shoot. Yeah. And so
she's gonna be on Cabin Wars, y'all.
Yeah. So super excited for that opportunity, and that opportunity came from a staging job.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just walking in the right doors and in the right rooms with the right people, and like you said, I use it differently. I said, for me, it was, I had to start being comfortable I had to start making sure that I was done with being comfortable, right? So I had to get uncomfortable
With being
with
uncomfortable.
being comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and Nick were actually speaking about that before you came in. We were talking about how we have these moments where we get frustrated and we get flustered and we're like, oh my God, I have so much going on. There's so much to do. And then there's the realization that this is exactly what you asked for. You know, I was sitting at the computer the other day and it just felt like I had so much stuff to do for clients. And I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to do and blah, blah, blah. And this is horrible. But then it to realize, no, this is a blessing. Yes,
Yeah.
this is a blessing. Can you imagine being stressed about not having any clients, not having any money, not having a business that people are interested in?
I think no matter what we do, we'll find a way to bitch because we're humans.
We're humans, yeah.
100%. If you can take a step back for a moment and be like, okay, I'm complaining because I'm so overwhelmed and so busy, right?
Yeah.
What is the alternative? To be complaining that you have nothing?
That you have nothing, you have no money, you can't do this, you can't do that. No. And that's huge. You can't complain about having a full plate if you set out to eat. And
100%.
that's what we set out to do when we started these businesses, is that we didn't want to just live a simple day-to-day existence getting the same paycheck every 2 weeks. We decided that we wanted to take the onus on ourselves and open ourselves up to more opportunities. So
Here we are.
that's huge, and I love that for you. Well, Miss Jenny, do you have anything else you need to say to the people? Any advice you want to leave on or anything of that nature?
No, I'm just super excited for this podcast. This is going to be, I think, just great for Investor Source, great for everybody who, is a part of what we do. I'm excited for the people that we're going to bring on. So thanks to you for deciding that this was something that we needed to do.
Yeah.
And bringing, of course, our favorite, Nick, who I don't think that any of us is using anybody else.
Yeah. No, I was going to say Nick's the go-to guy.
Oh my God. He's been an essential part of my business, of my listings. I do say, sometimes I'm like, you catfish me, because he sometimes makes my listings look way better than what some of them are. And I'm like, you stop being so good at what you
We're
do.
like, it's almost borderline fraud. He was showing me some of his Photoshop tricks earlier. He made a car disappear from a driveway and all that stuff.
Yeah, no,
So he's wonderful. He's a very talented guy, and we're
team, that's for sure. So just excited for this. Good job for bringing it to the table for all of us. And I appreciate you.
No problem. I mean, I definitely enjoy the Investor Source events. I enjoy working with you guys, and I felt that you needed more resources to push your message out, because there's a lot of fakeness out there right now. There's a lot of people selling courses on things they don't do. There's a lot of people charging thousands of dollars for speaking gigs just to get up there and spit the same motivational BS that they typed into ChatGPT. And honestly, when I met you guys, I saw real people who were highly successful and highly motivated to be more successful. And I just said to myself, more people need to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, you get to be in the back room, right? You get to hear what nobody else is hearing while we're in these meetings.
Yeah.
And the things that we're all talking about, and the good and the bad. I mean, that's the thing is, if there's one thing, you're 100% right. We are very real people.
Yes.
Right? We're not going to tell you what you want to hear. My story is very much real. There's a lot more to it, and I'm excited to share more of it. And I'm the newest one. Out of all of us, I think I started my business the most recent.
Right.
Right? So lots of failures. I mean, lots of them. But if I'm not failing, I don't know how to get better at something. So the failures which I was struggled with, right, because I thought it was me failing, was just me actually growing in opportunity. So, I mean, you're right. We're real. So if you want realness, this is definitely the place that you're going to come together.
I told a family member not too long ago that they were frustrated about sort of the state of their business. And what I told them was that you can't rush the process. You can't rush God, right? Because if you're going through something right now, there's a lesson that you're supposed to learn on the other side of this particular hardship. And if God sees fit to put you through this particular hardship, it's because he knows that the person you'll become on the other side is somebody that he can use to spread his light on the world. You know,
I've been there. I agree with that more.
Yeah. So, and like you said, now you can be a light to other people who are going to be in situations. I'm learning how to start a business. I want to sell my house faster. I have this deal and I can't seem to put it together. And through all of your trials and tribulations, you've now become somebody that could be an asset to those people in those situations, and that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that too. Like, I didn't know 9 months ago anything.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally how I knew nothing 9 months ago. And it's amazing what I've learned in 9 months.
Yeah. So it's never too late to change your life is, I think, one of the biggest things that I want us to take away from this podcast, as well as the fact that there's no benefit to playing small. Right. There's no benefit to playing small, and there's no benefit to holding yourself back. If you feel like you're too comfortable, that's something inside of you telling you that you're actually destined for more. But the only way that you can bridge the gap between being destined for more and actually getting more is to take action like you did, Jenny. So that's phenomenal, and I'm really glad that you came on the podcast and shared that story with us. If someone wanted to reach out to you, work with you, any capacity, how would they get in contact?
So the best way would be Instagram. I mean, I'm Facebook, I'm on there, but
you gotta slide in your DMs.
I know, there's like way too many messages I have to filter through. So, and if it's business related, make sure you're stating that, because I'm not responding to people who just say hi in my DMs. So Instagram, you can
guys, you have to be more creative with your DMs.
So just saying, that's, if it's business related, I'll 100% respond to it. Just tell me what you're needing or what you're asking for. But Jenny Gennaro, I mean, you can't miss me. I'm on Instagram that way. Facebook is fine too. Come to our Investor Source events.
Okay.
That would be a big one.
When are those?
The first Thursday of every month at Icon Co-work at 5 o'clock. You can be a homeowner, you can be an investor, you can be an agent. Anybody should come to those events. So I would suggest that's how you can find me. Awesome.
Well, Jenny, again, appreciate you coming on the podcast. I do think that this is going to be huge, not just for Investor Source, but for everybody in the real estate space. We need more realness, and this is the first step towards it. So we are the Investor Source podcast, your number one source for business, investing, and wealth building. And we are out. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Yeah.